coming like that.
To welcome Shri Sunil Bartwal ji, Secretary Labour and Employment, Government of India, and present virtual green certificate. Sir, it is our tradition to welcome with a green certificate a thicket of 6 trees which shall be planted in your name at Hangul Dachigam National Park, Kashmir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I would invite Mr. Alok B. Shriram, Vice President AY, to welcome Ms. Dagmar Walter, Director ILO DWT for South Asia, with a virtual green certificate. A thicket of 6 trees shall be planted in your name, ma'am, at Hangul Dachigam National Park, Kashmir.
Dear Ms. Walters, welcome to this seminar and thank you for joining us. I hope you will accept our small certificate, which will be in your name. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored. Thank you.
So now may I now request Mr. Arun Chawla, Director General FICCI, for his opening remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I trust everyone is keeping safe and are fine during these challenging times. Ladies and gentlemen, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you on this 87th Annual General Meeting of All India Organization of Employers. The number 87 itself speaks volumes about the history of the organization, its continued value that it has been providing, and also the contribution to the tripartite structure of dealing with industrial relations. At this point, let me acknowledge the august presence of Shri Sunil Bartwal, Secretary Labour and Employment, who has very kindly agreed to be here with us in spite of his busy schedule. Any introduction to Mr. Bartwal will not be sufficient, as before becoming the Honorable Secretary, Mr. Bartwal was at the helm of affairs of the biggest social security system in India, that is the Provident Fund. And I'm personally privy to the fact that under his directions and leadership, the Provident Fund Department became the savior of millions of employees and, of course, a great facilitator for the employers during the pandemic times. So, with all kudos to Mr. Bartwal, we are fortunate to start our AGM. I'm also delighted by the presence of Ms. Dagmar Walter, Director ILO DWT for South Asia and Country Office of India. I need not emphasize her commitment towards India, as sitting miles away in Switzerland, her hometown, and that too on a vacation, she has chosen to join the meeting. So Dagmar, your support to AIOE during the pandemic times, even when we were all in lockdown mode, was tremendous. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of today's AGM, impact of new labor codes on sustainable and equitable growth, is also apt in view of the fact that Government of India has spearheaded labor reforms in our country by enacting 4 labor codes. And we assume that the central rules for each labor code is ready and just waiting to be notified for implementation. So to deliberate and discuss the possible impact of these codes is therefore very critical, as we all know that India is one of the fastest growing countries in the world today, and to spur the sustainable growth and productivity, it is inevitable to have a labor policy which fulfills this objective. While it is a given fact that industrial development is crucial for economic growth, eradicating poverty and employment creation, the aspect of sustainability and inclusive growth is what drives real progress in a society. The 4 labor codes announced by the Government of India as a part of the labor reform agenda was not only for the purposes of simplification, amalgamation, and consolidation of labor laws, but it had another underlying agenda, which is to bring about sustainable and inclusive economic growth. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's deliberations would give the tripartite partners further food for thought With these few words, I invite Mr. Shishir Japuria, President, to deliver his welcome remarks. Thank you.
Namaskar ji. Respected Sri Sunil Bathwal ji, Secretary Labour and Employment, Government of India. Walter, Director ILO DWT for South Asia and Country Office for India. Shri Alok Ramji, Vice President AIOE, past Presidents of AIOE, Executive Committee members, Excellencies who have joined us today, my business colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the 87th Annual General Meeting of AIOE. We are grateful to Sri Sunil Parthwalji for sparing his valuable time amidst his busy schedule. Sir, this speaks volumes about your commitment towards creating a conducive environment for accelerating industrial growth in the country through a dialogue and engagement with all the stakeholders. Your government's proactive measures in dealing with contentious labor issues have been welcomed and have hailed as one of the most progressive reforms. It has built trust and transparency and simplified complex and antiquated laws which were detrimental to growth. Sir, the All India Organization of Employers, which was set up over 8 decades back, has been actively participating in the tripartite framework of the government to promote industrial relations and to foster better understanding between the employers and employees in mutual interest. Keeping in view its importance, the government has recognized it as one of the most representative organizations of the employers. We would like to congratulate the government for spearheading the labor reforms in India and for getting all the 4 codes passed in the parliament after comprehensive consultations with the stakeholders. We are sure that very soon your ministry will notify the implementation of these labor codes. We understand that 24 states and union territories have already approved the codes in the assembly and are framing the rules for its implementation. We will be actively engaging with the states to come out with the rules which are transparent, simple, and in mutual interest of the employers and employees. Sir, AIOE has been participating actively in all the tripartite meetings as well as those of the parliamentary committees and have given our suggestions from time to time on the labor codes. We appreciate and thank you for considering many of our recommendations made during the deliberations. This year, the theme of the AGM is Impact of Labor Reforms on Sustainable and Equitable Growth, which very much resonates with the socio-economic initiatives taken by the government. These labor reforms, as we all know, on one hand are fair and equitable and hence conducive to industrial growth, and on the other hand, it is trying to bring India's large informal sector employees into the formal sector and providing benefit of various schemes to them. It has also recognized the need for continuous skilling and reskilling of the workforce because of the changes in technology which will make certain jobs obsolete. The philosophy of the government to promote ease of doing business in industry and simultaneously ease of living of employees will create a favorable and sustainable impact in future. I would like to highlight that the new labor codes will have a large number of positives, both for the employers as well as employees. The benefit to the employers will be on account of various factors enumerated below. Firstly, it will establish a transparent, answerable, and a simple mechanism reducing to one registration, one license, and one return for all the codes. Secondly, it will provide more operational freedom to industrial establishments with the increase in the threshold limit from 100 to 300 under the Industrial Relations Code. Thirdly, it provides for flexibility to engage workers for 12 hours spread over the shift. Next, it will ensure that no strike or lockouts will be resorted to without a mandatory 14 days notice to the employers or employees. This will be ensuring that the business does not have to bear the losses of abrupt closures or stoppages of work by the employees. The increase in the threshold limit for contract workers from 20 to 50 under the OSH code will also lead to ease of doing business. Also, introduction of the concept of fixed term employment will give flexibility to the business. Lastly, introducing the concept of negotiating union will likely ease the dynamics where employers are currently dealing with multiple trade unions. So these are some of the highlights which I thought I will point out, which are beneficial to the employers. On the other hand, the workers will similarly have large number of benefits from the new codes, as it is proposed to have a national floor wages which will ensure minimum wages for all the employees. Secondly, the social security benefits will be provided by the unorganized workers, which constitute of over 80% of the total workforce. In addition to this, the recognition of the gig and platform workers and providing social security benefits to them is also a welcome initiative. Thirdly, the employers will need to contribute an additional one-time payment equal to 15 days wages last drawn of the workers to the reskilling fund. That is, in addition to the other statutory sums paid to the workmen on retrenchment, will be a huge positive for the workers. As we know, the technological advancements that are taking place require continuous skilling and reskilling of the workforce. This fund will be utilized for this purpose. Likewise, voluntary provident fund contributions for the unorganized sector will provide social security which will be available to the workmen in times of exigencies and post-retirement. The expansion of the definition of the state migrant workers with the inclusion of the migrant workers coming on their own and not through contractor to designated states seeking employment will benefit the interest of the workers. In addition to this, under your guidance, the ministry has also launched e-Shram portal for creating national database for unorganized workers to provide them benefits of various social security schemes run by the government, which will go a long way in benefiting the unorganized sector of the economy. The above highlights very much indicates sustainable and inclusive growth for all. So, I would like to take this opportunity to once again reiterate that the labor codes have to a great extent met our expectations, and we are sure that it will promote ease of doing business, promote entrepreneurship, promote more investments, and also ease a favorable environment, which will be a win-win situation for all the stakeholders. The new code will also promote employment generation, and by opening new horizons for the informal sector employees to the formal sector will certainly help in reviving our economy and bouncing back as one of the leading economies of the world. The current reforms will make our country Atmanirbhar. So I take liberty to mention some of the concerns of the industry which may be considered. The wage definition. The definition of the wages was set out in the codes are ambiguous and prone to different interpretations. Hence, we suggest that illustrations may be provided to facilitate all stakeholders to appreciate and understand the scope, ambit, and meaning of the term wages. In fact, it was the government's endeavor to simplify the law, but basic terms such as wages, as drafted, require clarity to avoid unnecessary litigation. Secondly, increase in financial liability of the employers. Due to the new wage definition, there will be substantial increase in the statutory payments, which will be an additional burden on the employers. It will adversely impact the MSME sector and more so the micro and tiny units which are reeling with financial stress on account of COVID. Third, notice of change. Flexibility in deployment and capability to change the service conditions without any constraint except wages are not touched. This will give flexibility so that the industry can immediately ramp up or ramp down production base on market demands and needs. Fourth, liability of the principal employers have been increased under the OSH code, which needs to be reconsidered as it is providing liberty to the contractors to shrug off their responsibility. Sir, I would further like to bring to your kind notice that AIOE, in association with ACTEP ILO, has conducted a study on the new ramifications of internal migration in India as a result of COVID-19, which focuses on the themes of labor requirement, building trust between employers and workers, and reintegration of returned migrant workers in 3 states, that is Kerala, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. The study will be released today under your gracious presence. I hope the findings and recommendations made under the study will form a strong foundation for discussion on internal migration in India. I would also like to thank Ms. Dagmar Walter for agreeing to address us on this occasion. Madam, we thank you for your teams representing ILO for collaborative activities which we had implemented during this year. The study on migration being released today is an example of the joint collaboration and effort that we share together. We hope the relationship will strengthen in years to come. Before I conclude, I would like to thank Shri Alok Sriramji, Vice President of AIOE, for being a constant source of support and strength and guidance to me. I would also like to thank the past chairmen and executive committee members for their continued support. Finally, I thank Mr. Arun Chawla, Director General FICCI, and AIOE Secretariat for their support that enabled me to carry out my duties. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Jaipuria ji. Your leadership in AIOE has enabled us to actively participate in tripartite and bipartite forums during the year, and I'm sure Shri Batwal ji has kindly taken note of the valid concerns mentioned by you in the address. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the ILO office in India plays a very significant role in implementing the country's decent work agenda by bringing together the tripartite partners. Needless to say, who else than Ms. Dagmar Walter, Director ILO DWT of South Asia and the Country Office of India, herself would be the best person to share the views of the organization. May I now request Ms. Dagmar Walter to address the August gathering.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Mr. Batwal, Secretary, Ministry of Labor and Employment, Government of India. Mr. Jaipuria, President, AIOE. Mr. Sriram, Vice President AIOE, Mr. Shola, Director General FICCI, esteemed participants, namaskar, and a very good afternoon to all of you present in this 87th Annual General Meeting of AIOE. On behalf of the ILO, let me thank you for the invitation extended to me to participate in this AGM, including the National Award of Outstanding Industrial Relations for 2019-2020, and also the launching of the AIOE-ILO study report on new ramifications on internal migration in India. I very much look forward to this program together today. Let me at the outset congratulate AIOE on its continuous journey in serving the employers in India. ILO has been extremely pleased with the collaboration with AIOE during the past many years in multiple initiatives, which have resulted in mutual benefits and strengthened our cooperation over the years to the benefit of the AIOE members. Now, we are all well aware of the challenges we faced and also continue to face as a result of the impact of the pandemic. We are very happy to note that the manner in which AIOE responded to the needs of its members at the most crucial time. The ILO responded to the impact of the pandemic with a four-pillar policy framework based on international standards for tackling the socio-economic impacts of the COVID crisis. Now, the four pillars consist of stimulating the economy and employment, supporting enterprises, jobs and incomes, protecting workers in the workplace, and relying on social dialogue for solutions. Indian migrant workers during the COVID-19 pandemic faced multiple hardships. The lockdown imposed as a result of the pandemic led to a massive slowdown in economic activities, as it also did globally. Now, factories, establishments, and workplaces were shut down, and millions of migrant workers had to deal with the loss of income, food shortages, and uncertainty about their future. Now, of course, we did not stand still, and everyone joined forces to actually address this situation. The Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, FICCI, conducted a study as early as during the lockdown in 2020, which highlighted the key issues that needed urgent consideration in the context of internal migration. Following from this initiative, All India Organization of Employers, AIOE, in collaboration with the Bureau of Employers Activities of ILO, ACTEMP, commissioned a study on the new ramifications of internal migration in India as a result of COVID-19 from an industry perspective. Now, this study was an attempt to understand the impact of the crisis on migrant workers and industries dependent on their labor in three states, as we heard, Kerala, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. The study focuses on three important aspects of internal migration: manpower requirements, building trust, and reintegration of migrants in their states of origin. It focused on low and semi-skilled migrants, blue-collar workers, and especially covered the construction sector. One of the significant findings of the study has been a notable initiative during the lockdown where industry representatives introduced task forces with equal representation from workers and management to together resolve challenges related to the pandemic in terms of awareness raising and awareness of the issues that come up during the pandemic, the healthcare access during the pandemic, also the worker welfare issues and issues related to wages. It was revealed that social dialogue was essential to bring balance, allow the perspectives of all sides to be presented, and thereby bridge gaps between the stakeholders. The future is going to rely heavily on collaborations and social dialogue, and this will be the way to reach better outcomes as we go forward. As you know, social dialogue is the bedrock of the ILO. ILO's unique tripartite structure is founded on social dialogue. We are glad that this study has revealed the reality that unity in diversity, and maybe also unity in adversity, is the only way out of the crisis. As we all look forward to the presentation of the study report that will be made in a short while, let me assure AIOE that ILO is ready to support and respond to the call of social dialogue. We will further discuss how AIOE can promote a culture of dialogue and understanding among employers and workers that will be mutually beneficial to all stakeholders. And also hearing, the theme of this AGM in terms of labor codes, I really feel that this is so much more essential even as we go forward also in implementing new codes. In concluding, I also already would like to congratulate the winners of the award on Outstanding Industrial Relations and look forward to hear from their good practices that they will share. I thank you once again for the opportunity given to the ILO to collaborate and look forward to our continued productive partnership. Thank you so much, and I'm very happy to be here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walter, for your very insightful address. ILO office has always been supportive in initiating numerous activities in collaboration with AIOE, which has played a significant role in capacity building of the organization. And the study on new ramification of internal migration in India is a result of COVID-19, which is going to be launched today, is one such example. And I'm sure such collaborations will continue in all our future endeavors. So friends, a remarkable history is going to be created once these new labor codes are going to be implemented. And the person who has been working day and night to make it a reality is none other than Shri Sunil Batwal ji, Secretary, Labor and Employment. Many renowned industry members are present today on this virtual platform and are eagerly awaiting to hear your views on the subject. Shri Batwal ji, may I request you to kindly deliver your address and inaugurate the AGM. Thank you.
And Mr. Arun Chawla, DG FICCI, and thank you very much for the kind words which you spoke about me. I know that you have a special dispensation for me because you are also the member of the CBT, and you have seen, and I have also, I had a great pleasure of working with you, and you have seen me work. Mr. Shishir Jaipuria, who is the president of All India Organization of Employers, I think in your opening remarks, you have made my job much easier because I think you have talked about all the important features of the labor reforms very precisely and in very nice words. I understand that Shri Alok B. Shriram, Vice President, All India Organization of Employers, is also present here. And of course, Ms. Dagmar Walter, who is the director of ILO. And I remember only 10 days back, few days back, we had organized a social dialogue where all the prominent members of the employers organizations as well as prominent members of the trade unions were present, and we had a half-day session. And the ILO Delhi office, we have been finding a lot of cooperation from them. And we being the founding member of ILO, we have very special respect for the ILO conventions. And in fact, many of these conventions we have tried to bring in the spirit of the code so that we are compliant with those conventions. Mr. Shishir Jaipuria, I think, spoke about all these laws, and we have gone through a lot of consultations, and I must compliment All India Organization of Employers that a lot of important suggestions came from you. And let me on this occasion also congratulate your organization for covering 8 decades. I think 8 decades is not a small period, and only those organizations can flourish which really do work for their stakeholders and who are respected and reputed. So it's very nice to be, and it's my pleasure and privilege to be present here and speak on this occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, so as Mr. Jaipuria spoke about, I would also briefly touch upon the important features. I would also address some of the issues which you have raised in my address. We will also cover that because I understand that there are genuine concerns many times because many times there is not so much of clarity on the issues, and therefore there may be some kind of apprehension. Now, as Arvind rightly said, in fact, we are pursuing with the states because this law is in the federal structure. We have this is in the concurrent list of the Constitution, and the rules have to be formed both at the state level as well as at the central level. At the central government level, we have pre-published all the rules, so the rules are ready, and as soon as the majority of the state governments, they frame their rules, then we will be ready to implement the code. And I'm also very happy to say that I've been regularly reviewing this progress in the last 3 months when I joined here, and I find that more and more states are now coming up in terms of notification, in terms of finalization of rules. And in the last meeting which I took a week back, now almost 25 states have pre-published their wage rules. 20 states have published their IR code, and 18 SS code, and 15 the OSH code. So there is a good progress being made, but definitely we have to be faster because I think everybody is eagerly waiting for these codes to see the light of the day. But I would also say that it is a good exercise that these rules are getting pre-published, and it also gives an opportunity to all the employers and other organizations to go through those rules minutely, look at them, and if they feel that some progressive steps or amendments have to be brought in, then definitely this is a right time when you can bring in those important amendments or changes or modification in the rules. So I would suggest that all organizations like you, they should be, all your state units should be looking into those rules minutely and suggesting to the state governments so that these rules are as per the needs, the contemporary needs of both workers as well as the employers. Mr. Jaipuria also rightly said that the two guiding principles with which we formulated these rules were for the workers, ease of living, and for the employers, ease of doing business. Because we understand that employers who are the entrepreneurs, they are the wealth creators, and unless and until they are giving ease of doing business, unless and until they run their businesses and not run around the government officials, they would be doing much better wealth creation than otherwise. Similarly, the workers, if they are given good social security, if they are given good working conditions, if they are given healthy workplaces, And if the scaling, reskilling is done and the labor productivity improves, then definitely they join force in this wealth creation, and both the components, both the employers and the employees, they join together and create the wealth for everybody, because what we have seen, and we were also concerned when we looked at the women participation in the labor force, and we realized that we need to take some more measures for the women participation to improve. Because unless and until the women participation improves, then the contribution to GDP from the women workers will not be to the extent we want this economy to grow. So therefore, we have looked at the labor code from various point of views, from the employer's point of view, from the workers' point of view, from the women point of view, from the youth point of view, from the labor productivity point of view. So in fact, it is a good amalgamation of the different point of views. Secondly, we have also looked at that what is the changing scenario, because if you look at the workplaces are no longer the same workplaces which we saw say 20 years back, 30 years back, or in fact the 80 years back when your organization must have come into the being. The relationship, the industrial relationship must have been totally different 80 years back. And today when we see how the technology is growing, the technology is changing, the workplaces are also changing. The relationship between the employer and employee are also changing. The relationship of an employee to work is changing. The relationship of an employer to the workplace is changing. So I think a lot of changes are taking place, and therefore we have tried to make these law as much contemporary as possible. And we have also tried to see that the contemporariness of the world in which we are working should be there. And therefore we have always strived, and Ms. Dagmar Walter is here, she would know that when we look at the future of work, then we have to look at the different employment models and how we can do justice to all kinds of employment models. And you are also aware that a big change and the big inclusion in the labor code was inclusion of the gig and platform workers. Now, let me tell you that if you look at the platform economy, which is completely digital economy and which is growing, India is among the 3 largest platform economies. And the way the platform world or the platform workplaces are growing in this country, it is tremendous. And therefore, I'm very happy that in the labor code, we have kept a provision where we see that they are out of the traditional employer-employee relationship. We cannot address their issues through the factory or the industrial kind of lens. We have to find various other ways of seeing that the workers and the employers over there are able to generate wealth properly. So these changes are very important for us, and we wanted that the whole labor code should be inclusive. So there should be inclusivity in various ways, and that is what we have tried to do. Now, I do not want to repeat what Mr. Jaipuria has already told about the important features of the codes, but let me speak about a few which I feel are very important. You see, for the first time now, if you look at the minimum wages, they have been universalized. So it is a big step for workers because if you look internationally, when we were exporting our products, and there was always a complaint that in India, the minimum wages are not paid or the wages are too low. So therefore, we have also brought a concept of floor wages, which can be higher than the minimum wages. And so I think, this kind of the raising of the non-tariff barriers by some of the countries, because factually it may not be correct, but this bogey of raising these issues to create non-tariff barriers against our Indian exporters sometimes becomes a major issue, and therefore we thought that minimum wages should be universalized, not only for the sake of workers, but also for the sake of the ethos of this country, for the characterization of this country, and we did not want that we should lose any level playing field. The second feature, which is very important feature, which has come in the code, is that the unorganized sector workers, which was a very large number. In fact, if you look at 47 crore workers in the country, hardly 9 crore workers are in the organized sector. For organized sectors, we have created two very important organizations like EPFO, which Mr. Arun Chawla talked about. And I know that how important EPFO is. We distributed during COVID period, and it was not money which was coming from, I'm not talking about the money which was given by the government. There was additional funds which were given by the government under ABRY and PMGKY and other schemes. But what I'm talking about is we could distribute about 1 lakh crore of funds to about 2.5 crore persons in this country from their own corpus. So, whatever you contribute, sometimes, we look at it from the compliance cost point of view, but what I feel that it should not be looked from that point of view alone. In fact, we saved many people in going into indebtedness during COVID, because this money under the Provident Fund was saved for their rainy days, which we could disburse very fast. So I think social security funding now, which was available to the organized workers, now we are extending it to the unorganized workers. You have talked about, everybody knows about the e-Shram portal, that we are going to register about 38 crore workers or 380 million workers in this country, and almost 150 million workers have already been registered on e-Shram portal. And we have also created a fund which will be coming out of the compounding of offenses, as well as from some other ways and means, which will be addressing the issues of the unorganized workers. So there are many things which we are doing. Skilling, reskilling fund, which you mentioned, Mr. Jaipuria mentioned, is another way. Because you see, what I find that the cost of engaging labor, or the cost of paying minimum wages, is directly related to labor productivity. If the labor productivity is high, then whatever you pay may be not very costly for you. So if you look at the cost of production from the economics point of view, you will find that if the labor productivity is high, you don't paying more to your workers. But if the labor productivity is low, then definitely, even if you pay minimum wages, that may be very costly to you in terms of saving your enterprise. So I think whenever we get into the wage debate, minimum wage debate, we should look at it from that point of view, and the prestigious organizations like yours should see that how industry can improve the labor productivity. Of course, if an individual company does it, it is cost to the company, which may again be very costly. But if it is done by the industry associations, then definitely it is not cost to company. It gets divided in the whole industry, and then industry can push the labor productivity to a higher level. So I think that is very, very important subject. Now I can go on and on about ease of doing business and ease of living, but I think the time is less, and I should be finishing it in next 5 minutes. So I will touch upon some of the issues which Mr. Jaipuria mentioned. which are perhaps, more clarity is required. So wage definition, of course, we have been guided by the Supreme Court order in this regard. We have been guided by, what they have talked about, how, the universal, what is the universal allowances, which are the non-universal allowances, which are the allowances which are related to a special kind of work, which are the allowances which are related to general kind of work. And therefore, we have to tweak our wage definition accordingly. But definitely, if there is need for more clarity, we can have more parleys with you, we can have more meetings with you, and definitely we can reach out so that this wage definition is comes out with more clarity. Now, you talked about the compliance cost in statutory payments, because of the statutory payments, but I think if you look at the code minutely, you will find that even the PF contributions, we have tried to see that the employee contribution, there is a lot of flexibility so that take home salary is much more for the worker. Compliance cost, again, what I feel, which I said just now, that unless and until it is linked to the labor productivity, it will appear to be high. But if you get higher labor productivity, then definitely the compliance cost would not appear to be so much. The flexibility in the service condition is very, very important these days, because if the enterprises are not flexible enough, or they are not able to look at the business cycles, because business cycles by their very nature and because of the nomenclature, you have upswing and you have downswing, and you require flexibility in terms of your fixed cost, and many times labor becomes a fixed cost. So what I feel that we have this contractual labor concept already in the code, and we are also trying to make this contractual labor much more organized, in the sense that now more than 50 workmen, they have to take a license, and it will be a pan-India license, and it will be once kind of a license, so that even the contractor companies are those companies which have good brand equity, where they can pay workers well, they can look at the workers' welfare also, and they are not adding to your cost. You have said that we have increased the principal employer burden. No, we have not increased the principal employer burden. The principal employers, because they are responsible for the premises, and therefore to give flexibility, you may be employing contractual workers, but it is the duty of the principal employers. But we have not increased any burden on the principal employers in the code. But we have said that, and I believe that if these contractors, which are significant in size, which are quality conscious, which are brand conscious, which want to earn the name in the manpower supply as manpower supply companies, then definitely they will not increase your principal employer's cost, but in fact they will make your workers more productive, because what we have seen, that the contractual employees, they do not get skilling up, they do not get improvement in their skills, and nobody cares for them. So definitely, if there are good contractors, good principal employers, and as I said, if you can distribute it to the industry associations, and we have these sector skill councils, so if they can take up this role, then definitely this burden will not appear as a burden, but it will be like sharing of the revenues with everybody. So I think I have exceeded my time limit. There are many things to say. Labor code is one issue which is very close to my heart, and which is very, very important, very, very crucial from both the employer's point of view and the employee's point of view, and from the national point of view. So definitely, whenever we are meeting, we will be discussing on these issues again and again. We will be trying to see that there is simplification, there is lesser confusion, and there is more of clarity. So thank you very much, and let me congratulate all of you for organizing this event and for giving me this opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring and enlightening address. We have taken a note of all your suggestions, especially on the state units to be looking minutely to the state rules and in contemporary needs of employers and workers. AY has always been supportive to government's initiative in bringing these labor reforms, and sir, we would be continuing doing the same in the future as well. So as we move forward, I would like to mention here that AOI instituted a National Award for Outstanding Industrial Relations in 1932. This award aims to recognize industries with fine track records and standards with a view to be the trailblazer to herald an era of industrial peace and prosperity. The award is judged by the jury comprising eminent representatives from employers, trade union, and the government. From next year onwards, we'll make separate categories for large-scale MSME and service organizations so that we can increase the scope of participation. We would proudly like to mention that in spite of all the challenges due to the pandemic, we were able to complete two-tier process of selection for the award. There were 12 teams which got shortlisted at the regional competition and participated at the national levels. We are feeling really happy to announce the results today. May I now request Shri Shishir Japuria ji to announce the result of the winner and the runners-up. Sir, you are mute. Can you unmute yourself, please?
IOE National Award for Outstanding Industrial Relations 1920. Second runners-up, Shri Ram Pistons and Rings Limited. Congratulations. First runners-up, Lucas TVS Limited. And the winner of the trophy, Tata Motors Limited. My congratulations to all of them.
Thank you, sir, for declaring the results. And with the permission of Secretary, sir, we'll now request the winner, Tata Motors, to just give a brief presentation for 2 minutes on the best practices. Tata Motors. Tata Motors.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. First of all, very good afternoon, and thank you so much to the August AIOE team, the leadership present here, the government authorities present here for acknowledging what we have been doing and giving us this platform where we could showcase we were doing for the organization, which can be taken up as a process in other organizations. So we'll just take you briefly through what we are doing differently, which we say that will enhance the process of productivity, enhance the process of workman life, making it easier, and at the same time give better results to the organization in the longer times to come. So just give me 1 minute.
Please keep it very, very short, huh?
Sir, the highlights of what we are doing to ensure that the harmonious relationship at the plant is maintained. At the same time, the productivity of the organization is enhanced is primarily based on our four main pillars. The first pillar is definitely the Tata culture, the way of working, where we are always considerate about the workmen, and we have kept the workmen always in the forefront for any activity. That is our forte. So we have adopted three basic processes. One is the SDT concept, where they are the self-directed teams, where we have made the workmen or the team members, the operators, the leader of these self-directed teams. And this team comprises of both apprentices, trainees, and the permanent workmen, including white collar. So they are the teams which define the course of output, the course of quality. So we have our parameters of SQPDCME, that is safety, quality, delivery, productivity, morale, environment. All those parameters are there. So these team, they are the leaders of this activity, and they enhance. They look at processes, how these things can be improved. That is the first thing. Second is the HPEV concept, where we have designed various measuring indices, where the output, how to enhance the output, enhance the quality, and ensuring safety. These are taken care of. Along with that, we have our various interventions like spurs, like Varta, like the employee assistant program, which we started during the COVID times, where we are trying to reach not only the employees, but their families, but their children's, and trying to provide them not only professional guidance, but on a personal front, on a front where their kids, what profession they need to take, if their kids are in some kind of sports activity, what are the different avenues, or which are the different modes in which they can enhance the processes. This is what we are doing. So our approach has been a approach where we are trying to address the grievances, we are trying to enhance the productivity, and we are also trying to touch base on the employee life cycle. So put together all the whole environment, specifically at the Sanand plant, which had seen, which has shifted from Singur to Sanand. We feel that let's do things in a different way. Let's do things in a way which in the longer run benefits the employer and the organization. Has been that's the plus point which is taking us to greater heights, and we will continue to do our efforts in doing these activities. I again, once again, thank you, this August audience, the August gathering, for giving us the platform and acknowledging our efforts in this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and congratulations to all the winning team. So as we move forward, it gives me immense pleasure to mention that AOI, in collaboration with Actem ILO, conducted study on new ramifications of internal migration in India as a result of COVID-19. Industry perspective, which is going to be launched today. We are thankful to India Migration Now, a venture of Southeast Migration Foundation and Center for Migration and Inclusive Development, for undertaking this study under challenging circumstances and producing an excellent report. I would now request Mr. Varun Agrawal, founder and CEO of India Migration, to give a brief presentation. Keep it very, very quick. And a copy of the study will be presented to the Secretary Labor and Employment later on. Varun, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Francis. Thank you very much. Honorable Secretary, Honorable Mr. Secretary Batwal, Mr. Arun Chawla, Mr. Dagmar Walter, Ms. Shishir Jaipuria, and other dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon to you all, and I'm truly honored to present this study by AIOE and ILO on the new ramifications of internal migration in India as a result of COVID-19. Very unique, the industry voice has been presenting through this study. Like I said, India Migration Now and CMID executed this project. So I'll be quick in the interest of time. I'll start off by just quick quick preview on to suggest that today in India, we have over 100 million migrant workers. Already 10 years ago, the census given us a 40 million number for those who are working and migrating. When the lockdown happened, they shut down key industries across India, key industries like construction, manufacturing, textiles, all which contribute deeply to the Indian GDP. This was happening across India, especially in the migrant destination states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, all throughout West, North, and South. So I won't spend too much time on the methodology, but I would like to emphasize the study was conducted in Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Kerala, with sectors like construction, tourism, hospitality, manufacturing, textiles, and a huge focus on MSME being the core sort of focus of our interviews, which were 64 of them. We focused a lot, like Ms. Walter said earlier, on migrant workers, blue-collar workers, low-skilled and semi-skilled workers. The themes were labor requirements for industry, building trust between employers and workers, the social dialogue piece, and finally, the reintegration of returned migrant workers, not just within India coming from different states, but also international migrant workers. I wouldn't spend too much time on the findings, but I'll just emphasize that one of the observations that came through during the crisis was confirmed, which was that during the shortages for labor, we had a rapid increase in wages, especially in projects, construction projects, which were trying to close quickly. Also, there was a huge consensus that many sectors would like to move towards automation, but are being hampered by the cost of technology, construction being a prominent one there, where they will continue to be labor dependent. From a multi-stakeholder dialogue perspective, Ms. Walter detailed this very well, but I would like to say there were some great initiatives which came through with contractors, unions.
Varun, we lost you. I think we have lost Varun. So what we can do is we can probably take time from Secretary Labor and Employment for a detailed presentation, and we can present a detailed presentation to him. So thank you, Varun, for your presentation. And now we'll formally launch the study. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to conclude the program with a formal vote of thanks. And I would request now Sri Alok B. Sriram, Vice President AOI and Senior Managing Director and CEO DCM Sriram Industries Limited to kindly do the honors.
Thank you, Arvind. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Shri Sunir Barthwalji, Secretary, Government of India, Ministry of Labour and Employment. Ms. Dagmar Walter, Director ILO DWT for South Asia and Country Office in India. Shri Shishir Jaipuria, President AIOE, members, ladies and gentlemen. It is my proud privilege to propose a hearty vote of thanks to the Chief Guest, Shri Sunir Barthwalji, Secretary, Government of India, Ministry of Labour and Employment, Ms. Dagmar Walters, Director ILO DWT for South Asia and Country Office in India, and all the other dignitaries present. Sir, please accept my gratitude for sparing your precious time from your busy schedule and gracing this occasion. We are also thankful for your inspiring address, which would guide, encourage, and lead us forward for a progressive tripartite setup. Your thoughts have enlightened our mind and have shown us a new path. We are sure that the other social partners will also play their corresponding roles in promoting harmonious industrial relations in the country. Sir, I will not like to repeat what you said, but I'm going to try and distill your thoughts in a few words. I think the major message from you is that now it is a situation of win, win, and win between the workers, the employers, and the government. And to do that, each party must play its roles constructively and looking towards a bright future. The government is duty bound to provide ease of business for all business related activities. The employee is bound to align itself along with the needs of the organization. And most importantly, I think all the employers are duty bound to improve the life of our employees and also to empathize with what they are doing. In these labor codes, you have brought in new concepts like gig workers, platform workers, and I think recently you have also demonstrated many things like increasing the shift workings of ladies and women workers, etc., leading to a lot more emancipation for the ladies. And I think this is a great thing for India to have achieved. We were always in the forefront of women's emancipation, and I hope we will continue to do that. Apart from this, sir, some of the other points you made are very important, but I would always request my employers, associations, and my friends to remember that you are in a position where you have to balance the interest of various sections of society. Every citizen, right from the lowest to the most, let's say, the richest, has to be taken care of, especially the ones who are having bigger problems, the people who are left behind. And you are taking care of all of them. So we appreciate that. And I think we should realize that these are all the various interests that are being taken care of. The development of the Shram Suvidha portal, a one-stop shop for labor compliances, launch of the eShram portal for creating a database of unorganized workers, migrant workers, etc., are a huge step forward. I think I always say that the government of India has used information technology extremely powerfully. And for a country of 140 crore people, it is very active. I think our COVID vaccination program has shown this time and again. So, sir, on behalf of AIOE, we can assure you that the employers will do their best to ensure a proper implementation of the codes and maintain sound and harmonious and social environment in the country. I also take the opportunity to express our gratefulness to Ms. Dagmar Walters, Director ILO, for her presence today and addressing us, sharing ILO's perspectives on labor reforms. Madam, we are thankful to ILO for all the support and cooperation you provide us in the past and look forward to this continued partnership. Your support for the study on migrant workers has been of immense help, and I think it should become a necessary reading for all employers because it is throwing up a huge amount of challenges, but a huge amount of opportunities and changes also. Our heartiest congratulations to the winner of the Industrial Relations Awards and hope it will encourage others. We thank all the participating teams for joining us from different parts of India. I compliment all of them for their innovative practices and promoting cordial industrial relations through bilateral consultation. I trust that they will take positive lessons from today's exercise. Last but not the least, I am thankful to all who have joined and made this AGM a grand success. We are grateful to all the distinguished invitees for accepting our invitation. I also would like to personally thank the Secretariat of AIOE for the way that they have helped conduct this session. I think it was an extreme fine example of a hybrid session. With these words, I thank you all once again and hope that your support will continue in the coming years to come. Let us all join our hands for a better tomorrow in India. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining us today. So that brings us to the end of this AGM. And I would request all the members to join through a different link for the business session, please.
Once again, a very gracious thanks to the Honorable Secretary. Thank you very much, sir.